The authors of the Project 2025 document have made a number of proposals that would increase the powers significantly of the already imperial presidency. One of those authoritarian proposals, which I'm about to discuss, is worth a look after the Republican justices created a broad immunity for a president to commit crimes, even though the president has a constitutional duty to obey the law and to ensure the laws are faithfully executed. That is actually in the Constitution. The immunity for criminal prosecutions is not. It was created by the Republican justices. And it needs to be remembered daily that the Republican justices have unleashed Trump to do whatever he wants during his second term, knowing of his strong authoritarian tendencies, knowing what he did in response to losing the election, knowing the evidence supporting the 4 criminal cases against Trump, and knowing that he is more likely than not to become president again. Trump tried to distance himself from the extreme proposals contained in the Project 2025 document. Of the 38 authors of this plan, 31 were appointed or nominated to positions in the Trump administration or its transition. Trump made this statement, which I will read. I know nothing about Project 2025. I have no idea who is behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. Anything they do, I wish them luck, but I have nothing to do with them. So he knows nothing about Project 2025 or the people that are involved in writing this document, even though many of the authors were members of his administration. And notwithstanding knowing nothing about the Project 2025 document, he disagrees with some of its proposals, but will not say which ones, of course. Nothing that Trump says is believable for those who are living in an objective reality, and unfortunately, that excludes tens of millions of Americans. Back to one of the authoritarian proposals in the Project 2025 document. The authors of this document, who call themselves conservatives, since that sounds a lot better than a proper description, are advocating for the abolition of the Department of Justice's independence from the president, a doctrine that goes by the name of the Unitary Executive Theory, which is based on an expansive reading of the presidential powers, the executive powers that are contained in Article 2 of the Constitution. To highlight what this means, assume the FBI was to launch an investigation of Trump after his election for some alleged crime, as the FBI did with President Nixon. Trump could just order the FBI and DOJ to stop the investigation before it started, and that would be the end of that. Nothing about Nixon's criminal activities would have been revealed if the president had absolute control of the DOJ and the FBI, which would be the case under the proposal being made by these, quote, conservatives, end of quote. The unitary executive theory, if implemented, would make it even more likely that a president would commit crimes than just having the incentive which is already great, that was created by the Republican justices in their broad grant of immunity for criminal acts. This kind of proposal and others made in the Project 2025 document need to be evaluated in the context of the presidential immunity from criminal prosecution created by the 6 Republican justices in 2024, or 235 years after the Constitution became effective in 1789. And that was done for a president who tried to end American democracy as we know it. Trump and his supporters might respond to what I just said by asserting that Biden had ordered both the state and criminal investigations of Trump in order to interfere with the election. This is a common refrain made by them. No proof is offered to support that contention, and none exists to my knowledge. It does not matter in Trump's America that claims are repeatedly made with no factual support, since facts are irrelevant in that alternate reality anyways. Claims just become true without proof by repeating them over and over again and using large capital letters when making them in print. When you hear these kind of statements expressed by facts, and they're everywhere now, I would just recommend thinking about the guy that I talked about in a prior video who was standing on a LA street with a sign held up claiming that Tom Hanks was a pedophile. When asked on camera by a reporter what proof did he have to support the claim, he angrily replied, not with any facts, of course, but with a demand that the reporter produce proof that Hanks was not a pedophile. That attitude and approach to issues aptly describes the Republican mind in Trump world. Another reason for making that claim, and probably the main reason, is to convince people to just dismiss the criminal indictments without actually looking at any of the evidence supporting the 4 criminal cases against Trump. I doubt that Trump supporters, or almost any of them, would have or would ever look at the evidence and would just dismiss the entire criminal cases as election interference and a weaponization of the Justice Departments. It's an opinion that's supplied to them by Trump that they are just parroting everywhere endlessly. It is Trump who will weaponize the Justice Department, as he tried to do on several occasions during his first term, and that Nixon tried to do as well. Biden has not done so. Just as an example of the proof of just one of the criminal charges in the documents case in Florida, which I've summarized previously in several videos. A grand jury subpoena was served on Trump after he left office, demanding the production of documents in his possession marked as classified. Documents so marked were concealed and not produced in response to this grand jury subpoena. Over 100 were found in the FBI's August 2022 search, including several found in Trump's desk and bedroom. Then there is evidence that Trump attempted to conceal the documents demanded in the grand jury subpoena so he wouldn't have to produce them, and tried to enlist others in destroying a video of documents being moved so that his own attorneys would not find them. And then there is also testimony from one of his attorneys that Trump tried to convince him to withhold documents that were called for by the grand jury subpoena. The Trump attorneys are trying to suppress that kind of testimony from one of Trump's main attorneys in that case, but was unsuccessful in a D.C. case. The D.C. federal district court judge found that the crime fraud exception to the attorney-client privilege applied to that communication, and Judge Cannon is basically reconsidering that earlier finding so that the delay in the trial of the Trump case can be continued until after the election, whereupon it will be dismissed. by Trump, and he would be then, in effect, given permanent immunity for all the charges in that case as a result of the delay of the Trump-appointed federal district court judge in Florida.